Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jani Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jana Vallabha Girivardhana Jana Vallabha Girivardhana Jana Vallabha Yasodhanandana Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Jani Hari Jaya Radha Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 10. Uda Plutam Vishvam Midam Tadasi Yanidraya Mirita Dhinyam Nilayat Namilat Ahindra Talpe Dishayana Eka Rita Chana Swatma Rato Nidhiha Uda Plutam Vishvam Midam Tadasi Yanidraya Milita Dhinyam Nilaya Ahindra Talpe Dishayana Eka Chana Swapma Rato Nidhiha Uda water Aplutam submerged in Vishvam, the three worlds. Idam, this. Tada, at that time. Asit, it so remained. Yat, in which. Nidraya, in slumber. Amilita, closed. Drit, eyes. Nyamiliyat, not completely closed. Ahindra, the great snake Ananta. Alpe, on the bed of. Adishayana, lying on. Eka, alone. Kritachana, being engaged. Atmarato, enjoying in his internal potency. Nidhiha, without any part of external energy. Translation. At that time, when the three worlds were submerged in water, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu was alone, lying on his bedstead, the great snake Ananta. And although he appeared to be in slumber in his own internal potency, free from the action of the external energy, his eyes were not completely closed. Purport. The Lord is eternally enjoying transcendental bliss by his internal potency, whereas the external potency is suspended during the time of the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. We'll read the next verse also today. Text 11. I don't know who's writing the board, but tomorrow will be text 12. Text 11. Sonta sarira pita bhuta suksma kalatmikam shaktim udirayana uvasatasmin salile pada ampares sve yatanalo dharuni rudavirya. Translation. Just like the strength of fire within fuel, the Lord remained within the water of dissolution, submerging all the living entities in their subtle bodies. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kala. After the three worlds, the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems merged into the water of dissolution. The living entities of all the three worlds remained in their subtle bodies by dint of the energy called Kala. In this dissolution, the gross bodies become unmanifest, but the subtle bodies existed just like the water of the material creation. Thus, the material energy was not completely wound up, as is the case in the full dissolution of the material world. So, a very interesting section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading here how the Kumaras, along with others, are traveling to the lower parts of the universe, and they're offering prayers to Lord Sankashan, Lord Ananta. And he is the many thousand hooded snake form of the Supreme Unlimited Personality of Godhead. And Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is lying on the Ananta station. So it's very interesting that in this universe that we have the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu where Lord Vasudeva is lying on. Then we have the Kiradakshaya Vishnu in the Svetadvip where the Lord also is lying on the bed of Ananta. And we have the Mahavishnu in the causal ocean where the Lord is lying on the bed of Ananta, who has many thousands of hoods. So it's in the beginning part of this chapter, there is a description there how Lord Ananta, when the sages arrived, that the Lord Ananta was manifesting the great brilliance from the gems on his hoods, and he was meditating on his Lord, Lord Vasudeva. So you don't hear many descriptions of Lord Sankashan giving instruction. Of course, Lord Sankashan is originally an expansion from Lord Balaram, Krishna, Balaram, and then of course in Dwarka, the quadruple Krishna, Balaram, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, then they expand Vaikuntha into those quadruple expansions, and then from the Sankashan comes the Mahavishnu. So Of course, Balaram gives many instructions, and in the form of Lord Nityananda, he gives many instructions, but we don't read so much about Lord Balaram in his form as Anantasesha or Sankashan, giving so many instructions. Yeah, of course, there may be some other incidents of it, but here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I think it's the only occurrence. The Lord Sankashan himself, even though Lord Vasudeva is lying on the bed of Sankashan, he's not the one instructing, it is Lord Sankashan instructing the Kumaras, Sanat Kumara, the head of the Kumaras. So he's asking questions of Lord Sankashan. Now, interestingly, in the first verse we read, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he's lying there. Now, this mention of Kala time, what's coming up in the 11th chapter of the 3rd canto is the calculation of time from the atom. That chapter, which is a very famous chapter, calculate. I remember at the time when the 3rd canto came out, it was very interesting. Not something that you usually read in the Bhagavatam in regard to time, the time aspect and how it's calculated. Prabhupada actually makes a comment that it's very close to how modern day scientists have an idea of it. It's the movement of atoms. Anyway, this will be more explained in the 11th chapter. We're on the 8th chapter now, so in the 11th chapter, the calculation of time, the movement of atoms over a certain distance is the time factor. Now, I'll get to that, but in this particular first verse, here it is mentioned that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, now there was a pralaya. Now, a pralaya means destruction. Submerged in water. This also is described in the 11th chapter that's coming up. There's partial, every change of Manu, the Manu lives for approximately 71 cycles of the 4 yugas. And there's a change of them. Now there's a dissolution up to the earthly planets, the lower planetary systems become dissolved. But then at the end of the day of Brahma, there's an annihilation which includes the Bhuva, Spaga, the three abodes. So this is what's talked about here. This dissolution of the planetary systems up to the heavenly planets. Although it's actually mentioned in the 11th chapter that the sun and the moon, which are regarded heavenly in the heavenly sphere, are actually not dissolved. They go into another section of the universe. But all the other planets of the heavenly sphere, they're dissolved. And the earthly planets are dissolved. And this is very much described, the 36,000 years of fire. This is the description. Both in the Manu dissolutions of the lower planetary system. This fire comes from Lord Ananta, Anantasesha, from the bottom of the universe, from his goods. There's a fire also coming from the third eye of Lord Shiva from above. So it's a combination of Lord Ananta and Lord Shiva. There's fire for 36,000 years of the demigods. Long time. And then there's rain, accompanied by strong winds and severe weather. And so on. So the rains come down like some Vartika clouds are sent over. We read this description in the drenching of Govardhan in Krishna's lifting of Govardhan Hill Leela. That the Samvartika, when Indra sent the Samvartika clouds, but Samvartika, they just pour down like that, and the description is the rain comes down like pillars. It's so strong, and then the oceans, so everything is burnt. After 36, everything is burnt to a crisp. Whatever's left is going to get drowned. Because there are some in the water who live in the water. And so then everything is dissolved. So all the oceans overflood because of all of the rain coming down. You don't really get that. I mean, we have a lot of floods around here, for example, where the river floods, but very rarely the ocean floods. There have to be some real devastation, the ocean flooding. But in this case, it comes down so heavy for such a long time, non-stop. This is like 24 hours a day. You know, like here, sometimes it goes 7 days, 24, and that's just like last year, wasn't the year before, we had these huge, massive floods all over the East Coast here. and it came down for a long time. So you just imagine pillars of huge sheets of rain coming down and for 36,000 years. So the oceans overflow, and then the planetary systems become submerged. So this is and right up to the heavenly planets, and this is what's been talked about here in the first verse we read. Now, of course, how much the Lord is Garbada, he's lying in the navel, from his navel, of course, and he's lying now. He's lying at the bottom of the manifest planetary systems of the universe. Of course, half this universe is filled from the water from his body, the Garbada ocean. So he's kind of like in the middle of the universe, because the bottom half is the water from his perspiration that fills up half, and the other half is above. So he's kind of in the middle, although it's often referred to, he's lying at the bottom of the universe. Confirmed. He's lying at the bottom of the universe. But the bottom of the manifest universe, it doesn't include the ocean. And so now, due to the effect, now interestingly enough, it is said here that the sages went there. Now, there's a description also that during these dissolutions of the universe, and during the change of the yugas even, there's Satyuga and Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga, and then after the 4 yugas, there's a Sandhya period, what's called the Sun. There's little transitional periods that last for a couple of 100 years of the time of the demigods. They're called Sandhya periods. And in those periods, there's description, we'll read as we go up, that there's descriptions of those in the higher planetary systems are engaged in many ceremonies and yajnas for purification of the universe during the Sandhya period. So that comes at the end of each age, there's a little period, and at the end of the 4 cycles. And then at that time also it is mentioned that great sages come from the heavenly, those that are not affected, the higher planets, and they go and offer prayers to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. They offer prayers to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So in some temples in India, you can actually see that portrayed with all the devas and all the sages assembled, and they're offering prayers to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So here, the Sanat Kumar and the sages have assembled. They're gone there. I don't know how exactly they're there. It's all water, whether they're just kind of floating in the air by their mystic power, or I doubt they're actually also sitting on the bed of Ananta, because that is reserved for Lord Vishnu, and of course Lakshmi also goes there, but no one else goes there. So I'd say by their mystic power, they're just hovering there, offering prayers to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and also offering prayers to Lord Sankarshan, Lord Anantasesha, with the many thousands of hoods. And he's glowing by his gems and effulgences everywhere. And here is mentioned that the Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he's got his eyes not completely closed, and here the word nidra is used. Where is it? Nidraya milita. Nidraya means, of course, sleep. But Lord Vishnu's sleep is not ordinary nidra. It's not ordinary, just like we sleep. When we go to sleep, we're more or less just unconscious. We're totally unaware what's going on outside. Like in the case of Kumbhakarna, he slept so soundly that they had to jump on him and everything like that and blow trumpets in his ear to try to wake him up. If you remember the story from the Ramayana. So, when we go to sleep, we're out. We're totally unconscious. But Prabhupada says there's a difference between ordinary nidra, ordinary sleep, and yoga nidra, which is the nidra of Vishnu. Yoga nidra means in yoga, in meditation actually. In meditation, just like the yogis, when they go into the meditation, they're following the Astanga yoga, they sit in the lotus position and they go into meditation. They don't close their eyes completely. They leave them a little bit open at the bottom and they go into meditation. So Lord Vishnu, he's doing the same. Of course, he's meditating upon himself, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is the Supreme. Some yogis make the mistake of trying to do the same thing. They go into meditation and meditate on themselves, but they're not supreme. That won't be very helpful. That what will really be helpful is they meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead also. And the true yogis do like that. But many just think that they are God and they meditate on themselves. But Krishna actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he meditates on himself. He is full in meditation on himself. So while he's in this Yoga Nidra, is mentioned here, he's in his internal potency. Internal potency. Spa atma rato. Nidhiha, and these words are used. Atma means the self. He's within his, Krishna has many potencies, many energies working. And the internal energy is the closest. It is the spiritual energy, which is the closest to the Supreme Energy. And he's situated in that. In other words, in this universe there's another energy, and here is actually mentioned as Niriha, external energy, material energy, that is going on. There's been a dissolution. That is working under the influence of time. It is manifest, and now it has become unmanifest, at least the three planetary systems. So all this is going on. Manifest, unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. That's one energy of Krishna. He's in the Yogamaya. He's in the internal energy. So it's mentioned here. He's not affected by all that. Everyone else is. But he's just sitting, lying in meditation, eyes just half closed, in meditation. And he's in the Yogamaya. He's in the Yoga Nidra. But all the living entities who are affected by these pralayas, these creations and annihilations, they're totally caught up, totally overwhelmed by the external energy, and they've lost their material external bodies. They haven't got their external physical body. Just like now, we have our human form. Other animals, the dogs and the cats and the birds, are there, the external physical bodies. They're gone. What was not burnt is now drowned in the ocean, as I mentioned, 36,000 years of fire and heat. Also, there's one description of the sun becoming hotter. So you've got this fire from the Anantasesha, Lord Shiva, and the sun becomes hotter. It is actually said in modern day science, if the sun were to come a little bit closer to us, we'd all be scorched. We'd all be finished. Just that little bit closer, or a little bit further away, we'd all freeze to death. Just that little bit. So the sun is a description as well as all the other things. The sun becomes, so everything that is like on the surface like this, then it becomes frazzled out and killed off. And that goes right up to the heavenly planets. And then the rain comes. So those in the water, those perhaps that didn't get frazzled up, they're drowned in the water. So there's no more physical bodies. The bodies are killed. The bodies are killed. But they're existing, as mentioned here, in their subtle bodies. The subtle body is the mind. The mind, the intelligence, the sense of being, the ego, that is there wrapping around the Atma. The Atma is the spirit soul, and wrapping around in a subtle way is the subtle material body. And that, there's another description, that all of them go into the abdomen of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in these pralayas. This one is a three-world pralaya. So even the residents of the heavenly planets, earth planets, the lower planets, they've gone, they've lost their gross bodies, and they're existing in their subtle bodies according to their karma. They're in the abdomen, and according to what's mentioned here, especially in the mentioned here, Kala is mentioned here also, and in the next verse, according to Kala, according to time, they'll be in there for a certain amount of time. Now it is said here in the next verse that the Lord Vishnu, he remained within that water of dissolution. But a very interesting analogy is given here, just like the strength of fire within fuel wood. Now, when you have wood, it's like we have wood to light our fire, there's always the potential for it to be lit up, and then the wood burns and the fire comes from out of it. So wood within it, intrinsic in it, has the potential of fire and heat and light. So even though Garbhodakshaya Vishnu was just lying in yoga nidra, not really just in meditation, not doing it, but within him was all the potential for all the living entities coming out and resuming their respective positions and getting their bodies according to their karma in the different planetary systems. All that was in Vishnu, and it comes out, we'll read later on, comes out, first of all, the lotus stem comes and the lotus flower. Brahma is the first one. Of course, Brahma is existing in the three-world creation. But actually it is said that Brahma goes to sleep at night. And he also goes into, there's one mention of that, he also somehow or other is connected into the abdomen, at least subtly. So he comes out again on top of that, at the end of each day, on top of the flower, Padma. Anyway, there's all different descriptions of all this. So it's very interesting that within Lord Vishnu, who is lying, seemingly not doing anything, but within him there's all sorts of things ready to come out. And this is what is meant. Just like the strength of fire within fuel wood, the Lord remained within the water of dissolution, submerging all the living entities in their subtle bodies. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kala. Here's a very interesting point also. Self-invigorated. Now, the Kala, time, as I said, and we'll read more in the 11th chapter, time is the movement of atoms over a certain distance. And in the atom, which is the smallest particle that's indivisible, of course they say they split the atom, but of course within the atom there's neutrons and protons, and so on and so forth. But within the atom is the Paramatma. Srila Prabhupada would often say that the Lord is everywhere. God is everywhere, even in the atom. Even in the atom. He would say this so many times, wouldn't he? God is everywhere, even in the atom. But can you perceive him? Can you perceive him? No, you cannot perceive him. He is within the atom. Atoms are so small. And the size of the actual size of atoms is given again in the 11th chapter of this canto. How small they are, and dimensions are given. So small, you can't see them with the naked eye. And within there, even if you could see atoms and protons, you wouldn't see the Supreme Personality of God in its Paramatma, because he is subtle energy. He is even more subtle than the smallest of the small. He is spiritual. So, because he's there, he's causing the atoms to move. The atoms, the protons, neutrons, and electrons, they don't move by themselves. It is because of the presence of the Supreme Lord as Paramatma, the Lord within the atom, that all these things move, and as a whole, the atom moves over a certain distance, and therefore it is said here, self-invigorated energy called Kala. There's no need of anything external to come and get that time going. Because Krishna is time. There's no need for anyone else. There's no need of any demigod help. There's no need for any electrical, it's all going on by Krishna's presence everywhere. He's making everything move. So it's a very wonderful arrangement, very inconceivable to ordinary living entities, even very inconceivable for devotees, how this is all going on. The energy called Kala. Thus, the material energy was not completely wound up, as in the form. Now, at the end of the life of Brahma, of course, then all the different parts of the universe wound up, and all the universes together. We're living in one universe, and there's many, many thousands, unlimited universes with many Brahmas and demigods and so on. All of them are wound up and come back into the Mahavishnu. In the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So, I mean, this is a very amazing scenario, and you couldn't really even think this sort of thing up. So, some personality who is lying on a snake, and there were many thousands of hoods with jewels that are effulgent, and now Lord Sankarshan is going to instruct the Kumaras. You can't pick this sort of thing up. Either it's totally, you know, the mind of a madman. It's actually true. No, but it actually is true. All the great sages, so much confirmation of all this, and so many different authoritative shastras and personalities and so on and so forth. Supreme Lord Himself. And of course, as far as time, kala, very, very important. Now, on a macro, now, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, of course, the time I am, Kalosmi Lokachaya Prabhu, very famous verse. Time I am, destroyer of the worlds. This verse is known even out there. I believe Einstein quoted it or something like that. Many great scientists quoted it. Kalosmi Lokachaya. Time I am. Now, I mean, as scientists understand, the movement of time is very complicated and but very powerful. But very, very powerful. But they probably attribute it to some movement of energy or something. They don't attribute it to a personality. But of course, as in our Vaishnava Shastras and in the Vedas, it's attributed to a personality, to the Supreme Personality of God in the atom. And so therefore Krishna tells Arjuna, and this is in the 11th chapter, when in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's talking about his appearance and disappearance and so on in the previous chapter. So, and how he enters and creates everything. So Arjuna wanted to see it, and wanted to see, and he manifested the Vishwarupa, the universal form, to Arjuna, gave him the eyes to see it. And then Arjuna was very scared, saw everything being devoured. And then Krishna says, time I am, destroyer of the worlds. And so interestingly enough, Prabhupada quotes a very nice verse from the Katha Upanishad. He said that, now, on a micro level, time creates, so it gives life. And then it destroys. So in time there is life, and in time there is death. But overall, generally speaking, on the macro level, on the universal level, and confirmed here in Bhagavad Gita, it is all-devouring death. Destroyer of the worlds. Time I am, destroyer of the worlds. I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all soldiers here on both sides will be slain. And so, Prabhupada quotes a verse from the Katha Upanishad. He said, eventually Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishya Sudras, everything, planetary systems, everything will be devoured like a meal by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His form as time. Very interesting comment. You're devoured like a meal. So on a macro level, generally speaking, the time aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it means destruction. It means destruction. On a micro level, things are created, things are destroyed, on and on and on. But ultimately, the whole universe has to be wound up. So time, that aspect of the personality of Godhead, the Paramatma feature in the atom, that is destruction. Time I am destroyer of the worlds. Everything will be devoured. And then, of course, Krishna tells Arjuna that, nimitta matram, just do your duty. Savya Sachin, he calls Arjuna Savya, you're a great general, you're a great archer and a great general. Now he says that prepare to do your duty and win glory. All your enemies, everyone here is already dead. If you don't do your duty as a Kshatriya and kill the enemy in this way, they're going to be killed in another way. That Prabhupada explained. They're going to be killed. If they're not killed by you, they're going to be killed in another way. Because time I am. I've arranged this. So, of course, Krishna is always present. He can change things as he goes along. You know what I'm saying? So then Arjuna, if Arjuna is going, oh, all right, nimitta matram, he's going to be the instrument. And he said, by you being the instrument, you'll attain glory. And which is the case. But Arjuna was very intelligent. After hearing all these instructions, he said, now I'm prepared to act according to your instruction. So he did. He did his duty as a Kshatriya warrior. And he became he's very famous as the great general in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Nimitta matram, be my instrument. Nimitta matram. So Krishna can arrange it to be done through Arjuna and others. And if Arjuna doesn't do it, then Krishna can arrange it to be done in another way. He's there right in the moment. You understand this point? He's there right in the moment. Not that Krishna had a plan or it can only be this way. No, Krishna has allowance for so many different variations, and he's there in the moment. So if someone doesn't agree, everyone's got free choice, then he arranges another way right in the moment. Right in the moment. Very interesting point. And so Nimitta Matram Prabhupada says very significant. The whole world is moving according to a plan. Now Prabhupada goes on to say all this thing, the dissolution, the creation, the annihilation is all under a plan. Modern day scientists they say maybe perhaps it's like this, maybe it's like that. So many theories they put forward. But no, Prabhupada says no, according to the Vedic instruction, according to Shastra, it is under the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's all going on very exactly. Excuse me, I've got a little cold. Come from the tropics to the freezing cold over here. So it's all going on under a plan. So it behooves the conditioned soul to understand what that plan is. You can't avoid the plan. It's going to go on, whether you cooperate with it or not. It's going to go on. So it behooves the living entities to cooperate with it. And Prabhupada actually says that the creation, destruction, the cosmic manifestation, under the superior guidance of the Supreme Personality of God. So if Arjuna becomes Nimitta Matram, Prabhupada says, then he actually would become happy. And his life would become perfect because he's cooperating with the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when you go against it in some way or other, the devotee or the non-devotee, whatever way, then there's going to be difficult because it's just too powerful a force moving. Too powerful a force moving. You know, the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta tells the story of the little frog who jumped out, and there was a little 1 rupee coin. He jumped on the coin and said, "Oh, well, now I'm rich. I've got this 1 rupee." He jumped on it and claimed possession of it. And other frogs came there wondering what's going on, and he fought them all off. And he claimed it. And then the big elephant was coming down. And the little frog said, "Don't come any closer. This is mine." And he was thinking that the elephant wanted the rupee. That's why the elephant was coming. "Don't come in." He goes, "Don't come in." He goes, "Don't come in." The elephant just didn't even hear him, didn't even see him. He just came across, and the poor old frog sort of squished. What chance has a frog got against an elephant? But similarly, the Kala, time, is acting. It's too powerful. No one can go against it. It's under the plan of Krishna. Best to cooperate with it. You can do whatever you like, but best to cooperate. Just like you're out surfing and some big waves are coming in. I've read that with all these storms around in Western Australia, there's these huge waves coming in. People go out surfing, they ride and with the wave. There's Australia went out there and tried to go against it. This big, huge wall of water coming at you. You'll be finished within a second. But better to cooperate with the waves of time under the auspices of Krishna than try to fight against it. Then you'll be happy. Then you'll become perfect. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for listening to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Does anyone have any question or comment? Yes.
Physicist Robert Oppenheimer. Is that Sanskrit?
Oh, Oppenheimer. Okay. I thought Einstein might have got it, but it's Oppenheimer. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah. Oh, the bombs. Yeah.
When he saw the explosion, he said, "What happened?" You say Sanskrit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Oppenheimer. Yeah. He was one of the ones involved in creating the atomic bomb in America. Yeah. Another scientist. Yeah.
Interesting. When they first let that bomb off, they didn't know whether the explosion would just keep going.
Oh, they didn't know whether the explosion would keep going. It was a bit of a real gamble, huh?
Just let it go anyway. See what happens. I was thinking one point when you were saying we can cooperate with Krishna or not. Indradev Maharaj says Krishna can do a lot with us and a lot without us.
Good point. True. Very true.
Maharaj.
Yes.
You made a comment earlier and you mentioned that a number of the scientists have similar understanding on the movements of the atoms to the Bhagavatam. Would this be because maybe a lot of them have actually studied Vedic literature?
No, Prabhupada comments on this, and we'll read it in the 11th, maybe some of them have, I can't say, but in the 11th chapter of this third canto, Prabhupada comments that they've done their own calculations according to the time, how they calculate it, and somehow or other it lines up fairly closely with what the Vedic calculation is of time and movement of atoms. Like he says that that's the reason, somehow or other, by their own calculations, not that they've read it and come to the same conclusion. I didn't read that, but Prabhupada does say that somehow or other it lines up by their scientific calculations, and it's very close, because a lot of it's based on mathematics. With modern science is based on mathematics, and in the Vedic time it's based on mathematics also. So I think that's the common denominator. The common denominator would be the mathematics. Just like Sadhaputta, he was a mathematician. So he said there's a lot of similarities because of mathematics. So then when you have the mathematics, you add the figures and this and that and divide, then you might get similar kind of results. Yes.
When you was in the verse you were quoting, it has inherent potency, even within the atom. So apparently the scientists recognise that even what we think is solid is actually mostly space.
Right. Yeah.
Tiny little bits of matter, but because of the energy coming from each one of them, they're all held apart. Yeah. Space. Right. I don't know if it's true, but they reckon if you got rid of all that space, the universe might be the size of a sugar cube.
Yeah, okay. Well, it certainly started off small. Even in the Vedic calculation, it certainly started off small and expanded, and that's described in the Brahma Samhita. Coming out from the body of the Mahavishnu, they come out very small and they expand as they go out. So I don't know if it correlates to what the scientists say, but very interesting point, because there is a lot of space inside the atom and so on and so forth, according to their calculation. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari.